Powell River.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the former Speaker for his passion on this issue. I definitely share it. You know, Mr. Speaker, I am the proud representative of North Island Powell River, and my job is always to come to this place and reflect the realities of rural and remote communities. Motion 208, which we are here to speak on today, focuses on a concern that many of my constituents share, which is around rural digital infrastructure. Across my riding, there are many communities where there is limited internet access and many areas with no cell service at all. And I want to say in this House, there are communities and regions of our area that only have dial-up access. I have several petitions that have come from my region informing this government about how important cell reception is to the people who live there. And the availability is so low. And I continue to table them in this House as they arrive. So I want to thank the member from Pontiac for bringing this motion to the House so that I have an opportunity to speak to this important issue. I do work with him on the Indigenous and Northern Affairs Committee. However, I will also reiterate that this is a bit frustrating to be in this place of reiterating again and again the need. I think we all know in this House how strong the need is for rural and remote communities to have high-speed internet, to have access to cell reception, and that those communities are having certain challenges because they don't have that access. And it does also, this member's motion, also look at a gap. From the outset, we know what those problems are. I think this House knows in detail what those problems and limitations are for maintaining and developing a digital network in remote areas. So that's known. So I am concerned as well that we're standing here at the end of the 42nd Parliament and we're having this discussion when the House standing committees are very, very busy doing the work that they need to do. And I don't think that they need to reiterate again the needs of these communities. That need has been established, it's very clear, there's a record of it in this place, and I think it's time that we see some action. I understand the concern of identifying major issues of safety that lack for rural digital infrastructure and what that does to those regions in Canada. In my riding, in November of last year, we had a horrific example of what the lack of cell service means in the communities that I represent. Duncan Moffat was is a 23-year-old man. He was driving and he went off Highway 19 just south of Sayward. And I really hope that if people have not come to my riding and done the beautiful drive to the real north of the North Vancouver Island region, that's a beautiful area. But it is also a very isolated area with no cell reception. So he went off the highway just south of Sayward. His truck dropped down about 12 meters on the slope. He was pinned inside and not visible from the road. In fact, no one saw him. He did survive. He survived off the apples and Gatorade that he had in the vehicle with him, and he was kept warm by cardboard boxes. And I want to just reiterate, November of last year, it was quite cold. I know I live on Vancouver Island. It doesn't get to the minus 20 degrees here very often, as it does in this area, but it was very, very cold. The phone was sitting right next to him, but because there was no phone reception, he could not make that call. He was found nearly a week later, simply by chance. A hunter was out in the area and saw the wreck, and he was finally found safe. What was most ironic about this, and startling and sad, was when his mother was called to be told that her son, who she had been looking for desperately, had been found. She was just out of cell service, putting up posters to help hunters know to look for him. It was not until she came back to where she was in range that she got that information. So I want to thank Duncan and his family for sharing this experience, and I'm really proud to come to this place and share that stark reality, because this is what it means for too many rural and remote communities across this country, where people are put in situations that are simply not safe. And it is not right that some parts of Canada have a lot of access and other parts do not. I am really interested in seeing action. The understanding and knowledge of the issues around the lack of cellular network is a public safety issue, and we know this. I've outlined it just now. The government has the information, let's just get towards actually implementing an effective rural digital strategy immediately. The communities in my riding have waited long enough, and it is time. I'm pleased that some of the Connect to Innovate funding has been tagged for the region that I represent. This funding will support communities and the needs that they have, and I'm very happy to see that. The local ISPs are ready to go to work. But I will also note here that although this announcement of funding was announced and made public, they're still waiting for the actual next step so that the project can actually move forward. This is backbone infrastructure that is much needed in our region, and it will provide great opportunities for our communities who desperately are calling for it. It is not cell phone infrastructure, though, and I think that's important. I'm glad that this step is being taken. I'm glad that it's going to make it more accessible for cell reception in the future, but it is still not that very needed cell phone infrastructure that we need. Innovation lives in all communities across Canada, and small and remote communities are actively working on solutions to diversify and broaden their local economies. I have recently spent time with both the Port McNeill and District and the Port Hardy Chambers of Commerce. Connectivity continues to be a significant concern in the work that they are doing in the regions with local businesses. I'd like to outline here that the largest community that I represent, Campbell River, a population of just over 34,000, recently, in the last couple of years, put up their own infrastructure within the town center, the city center, so that we could have more businesses coming that have needs for that high-speed internet. So it came to the point that the city itself had to actually build that infrastructure so that we could attract businesses to our region. So when that's happening, I just hope that this place hears how serious the need is. And even though there is some connectivity, if it is not that high-speed internet that so many businesses need, it provides yet another barrier to those small communities. In fact, a lot of my communities are seeing extensive interest from people and local or businesses outside of our region that are looking to come in. But the limited access to internet and the cell reception is also a huge barrier. I've spent a lot of time in my riding speaking with Indigenous leaders, mayors, regional district representatives from communities like Gold River, Sayward, Mauchet, Machilet, Guasalanaquado, Dewanu, which is in Kingham Inlet, Holberg, Port Hardy, Port McNeill, Alert Bay, and Port Alice. Mr. Speaker, if I listed them all, we would be here a lot longer. I haven't had a chance to mention them all, but the need is very clear, and you can tell it just from that short list of people and communities in my riding. While the government program Connect to Innovate was put in place to improve broadband internet connectivity for rural Canadians, these programs focused exclusively on internet and did not cover cellular network development. The issue of cellular access must be addressed. It is for the safety and the potential financial well-being of the people that I am here and honored to represent. Mr. Speaker, rural and remote communities are strong. And due to the many ups and downs that we have faced, we are adaptable. I believe this breeds tenacity and innovation. As rural and remote communities across Canada look at how to build the strength in their communities, this infrastructure is imperative. And it is also imperative that the Canadian government step up to the plate. If we want to see rural and remote communities do well, that work needs to be supported. The NDP is calling first and foremost for cell phone infrastructure to be included immediately in the communications development strategies. Beyond this vital improvement, I support the development of the best communication systems in the world for Canada, a country that relies entirely on innovation to maintain its enviable position among wealthy countries. Connectivity is essential to efficient internal and international trade. Communities like mine want to be included. They are ready and willing to do the work. We just need that little bit of support. The government must be part of the solution. Already in Canada, internet and cell costs are some of the highest in the world. These barriers are only felt that much harder from small and rural communities like the ones that I represent. I will support Motion 208, and I hope to see that if this actually gets to committee, action is taken very promptly. My constituents deserve nothing less. Thank you.